Hello and welcome to the third sector. In our society, there are three sectors: the public, the private, and the nonprofit. And it's that third sector, the nonprofits, that we're here to talk about today. My guest is Eric Marsh, Executive Director of WCTV. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you very much.
Does it feel different being in front of the cameras rather than behind them?
I'm finding myself more and more on this side of the interview chair as opposed to being the one asking questions. So it's a little disconcerting still at times.
Yes. Well, I recently watched you during elections, several weeks ago, and you did a great job, so I think you'll be fine.
Thank you.
I want to start by getting a history of WETV. I know you've been around a very long time. How did this all get started? Tell us about that.
This was started by 7 local community members who felt that the Wayne County area needed to have a public education and government access center. They did the incorporation back in actually April of 1988. We were incorporated. We went on the air in August of 1988, so we're just celebrating our 30th year on the air of serving the Wayne County area with public education and government access services. We're very proud of that. And we think it's been a good year, and hopefully we have continued to elevate what it is that people are able to see and do. We started off with one channel, which are none of the numbers that we have right now. It actually started on Channel 16. It was started in the basement of Richmond High School. Jim Russell, who is actually teaching radio television at Richmond High School, was actually the first executive director. John Sherman, who spent some 24 years with the organization, and people remember that name. They almost associated John with this organization. Was the second executive director in. There have been a number of people that have followed who have all really tried to do the same thing as much as they can to provide information to the community. And as time and negotiation went on, we went from one channel to 2 channels to 3 channels. So now we actually have from our public education and government standpoint, WCTV, the overall arching name of the organization, is actually Channel 21, and that is a public access center. WETV, which is Channel 20 if you have Comcast cable, which is our educational access center. And the one that a lot of people, and you mentioned the election coverage, that a lot of people are used to is WGTV, which is Channel 11, which is all things government access. So we do a lot of live and recorded meetings, and those have expanded, particularly over the last 3-4 years. Programs associated with government, CUFs. Aaron Stevens has been hosting that program for a number of years as a Richmond Police Department that falls under government. Allison Zeidel hosts Environmentally Speaking, which is actually part of a committee that's run by Richmond City Government, the Environmental Sustainability Commission. That's why that's there. The commissioners help support Wayne County Connection. Michael Swigert hosts that show, which is why that show is on government access television.
So things have changed a little bit over 30 years.
Things have changed a lot over 30 years, but hopefully in a good way. We are finding more and more people coming to us, but there are still, a lot of people who don't know that those 3 channels actually fall under one umbrella. And it's interesting being on this show because there's a lot of people who don't realize that we are a not-for-profit organization. And if you go to various communities, their public education and government access centers are not all set up the same way. Some of them, Connorsville, for example, has CTV3, which is actually a part of Connorsville government. They're housed there. If you go to Fort Wayne and Bloomington, their public education and government access centers are actually part of their library, and they're housed in their local libraries. So it just depends on what the individual communities decided when they set those up, where they are.
So talk to me a little bit about funding then.
Okay.
If all of these are different, where does the funding come from? Is that the same?
A lot of the funding for most of the public education and government access centers come through franchise fees. So if you actually have cable in your home and you bother looking at the bill as opposed to just the bottom line number going, oh, okay, there is a line that says franchise fee. That is the cable company's rent, because cable lines are run on public right-of-way lines. They're run on public utility lines. So they pay rent to a certain extent to the communities. That money is allowed to be passed on to the consumer. So the cable companies don't pay it, we actually pay it. Some organizations, some communities don't do anything. You are not obligated to have a public education or a government access television station. Some communities have dropped theirs through the years. Some of the communities don't support them in other ways. The city of Richmond years ago, back in the late 90s, decided they weren't going to go into the television business, but they thought it was a great public service to have those meetings on air. So they support Whitewater Community Television with a portion of the franchise fees that they get. Wayne County does the same thing. We get funding through IU East. In a couple of different ways. We work off the lease of this space, so we do work for them, but we're also able to charge them for some of the work that we do. Over the last few years, we've actually started doing some outside commercial production work for some local businesses and organizations where we are able to charge them for the work that we do. And we have started a fundraiser, 21 for Fun, which we hold every spring now, and that's a way that we get our funds. We also get grants because we're a not-for-profit organization. So we apply for local grants, and we are a membership organization. So an individual, not-for-profit, or business can actually be a member of this organization.
I'm a member.
Yes, you are. Thank you.
And it wasn't very expensive.
No, our membership is meant to be nominal,
yes.
And it is meant to just help support what it is that we do. And we are continuing to build some benefits into that membership. One of the ways that we started doing it recently was people like birthdays. So we've created a series of birthday slides that we can put up, and if you want to wish somebody a happy birthday, you can do that using our community bulletin board. We do charge for that service. It's a nominal fee, but if you are a member, you get it at half price. So we are also trying to work with some businesses to do kind of a discount card. If you show your discount card, you can get some discounts at some of those businesses. So we continue to try to provide that. Public access or public television actually is able to send you things when they do their membership drives. They get Johnny Mathis CDs or things of that nature. We don't get all of that. So we try to make it as local as we can.
Yes. Well, I felt I needed to be a member of this because it's providing such a great service for our community. And when I looked at the membership list, I'm like, that's it? That's not much money for all of the great things that you're doing for this community. So I was happy to be a member and glad I could be just a small part of what you're doing for our community. So,
thank you.
But what I was hearing you say as you were talking about this is that even though there's this franchise fee, it still takes the community to support the work that you're doing here.
Yes, it does. It takes the business community. It takes the local community. Television, even on the scale that we're running it, is not a cheap thing to do. The lights, the cameras, the people that it takes. This is one of those businesses where you actually have to have people. Robots aren't going out and recording things. Robots aren't doing all of the editing. It takes people to do that. And as anybody has run a business or a not-for-profit organization, people are some of the most expensive aspects of that business. And we have tried to, over the last year and a half, really kind of expand because as other entities have stepped back a little bit, people continue to ask Whitewater Community Television to do more. We cannot be all things to all people, and we understand that. But we do try to provide more information. Just as an example, I'll read a couple of numbers from our report. Shows like this, Third Sector, Access to the Arts, Chamber Chat, Cuffs, Wayne County Connection. We did 131 episodes of various programs in the last year. Over a 12-month period, that's a lot. We mentioned government meetings being really kind of our bread and butter. We really want the community to be interested and involved in what their governments are doing for them. So we did 274 government meetings during our last fiscal year. So if you think about that number, 365 days, take Saturdays and Sundays off, that's a lot of meetings. I mean, that spans 234 hours. And we've expanded so they're not only Richmond Common Council, Richmond Board of Public Works and Safety, things of that nature, but we're doing the town meetings in Cambridge City, Centerville, Hagerstown, Fountain City. We've stopped in Dublin. We've stopped in Cambridge City, Western Wayne Regional Sewer District. So we are really working hard to make this Wayne County's public education and government access television. And we've partnered with some other people to try to help do that. We work with the Chamber of Commerce. We started working with Hometown Media over in Western Wayne County. You mentioned the elections again, and we recorded a couple of the forums that they did just to give people another chance to hear from the candidates and get people asking questions from them.
That's a lot of hours.
That's a lot of hours.
How many people do you have working here that's covering that many meetings and that many hours?
Up until a few months ago, we were at 4. We've expanded that out. Actually, we've had a young man actually move to the community from the East Coast, Anthony. Anthony started just probably about 60, almost 90 days ago, maybe, full-time, and he's the first full-time employee we've added for a while. Ryan Harris, who a lot of people know as a full-time employee. Those are the only ones outside of myself that are doing 40 hours a week or more. Michelle Thompson, our administrative coordinator, about 30 hours a week. We've got Wes Miller, Samantha Parks, Caitlin Ballard, who has just joined us actually another couple of months ago, all doing 25 hours a week or less. So we're really kind of spreading that work around a great deal.
That's a lot of work for a few people. Volunteers
are really important to us, and we've been fortunate to have had some very good volunteers during the year. A couple of the board members have begun doing some camera work for us on some meetings, and Steve Michael, who we mention a lot during our In Focus programs. Whenever we do an In Focus program, Steve is here running camera for that, so that is incredibly big for us. He also used to help run camera for the Proudly We Serve program, which is a program about veterans issues. And that's one of the things that we're proud of, is the diversity of programming that we have here. And a lot of it is not things that we do. We do the production, but like this show, we don't do the hosting. We don't book the guests. So community members get to decide what the community is seeing and hearing about itself, and that's important.
Do you also still have shows? I know I started a long time ago. I think this is my 12th year, maybe. When I first started doing this, I remember people were dropping tapes off and saying, here's our show, here's our show. Mm-hmm. Do you still have folks doing that, or is it mostly done in studio now?
Nope, we still have a lot of, and that's really what Channel 21 is about, and that's the one we've kind of gone through over the last few years and really tried to enhance what our channels are doing. We started with our government access channel because we thought that was incredibly important. We moved on to our education channel, and we've been able to expand there. This year we're really working on our public access channel because that's where the community gets to tell its stories. So right now, a lot of what we're having people drop off are church services because churches have those stories to tell. They have that programming every week. But what we're really trying to do is begin to work with some partners in the community, and I've mentioned to a couple of the libraries that maybe we might want to hold some classes there during the coming year, teach people how to create. Some people are using their phones, but how do they transfer that into a format that we can use? Some people would like to use a camera. Some people can shoot but don't know how to do editing. So we want to hold some classes in the community because Channel 21 is truly the community's channel to tell their story. We don't edit, we don't censor. A lot of those programs we don't even view ahead of time. We leave it up to the community to talk about what it is they want to talk about, whether it's scouting, painting, the church that they belong to, whatever it is that trips their trigger, they can create a program about it. And if it's about a political rant, we ask them to be nice. We ask them to use some common sense and watch their language. But beyond that, it's theirs to fill.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot of content then.
There can be a lot of content. We have a lot of room still left on Channel 21, so we are really hoping that we can build more and more programming and build a capacity throughout Wayne County for people to be able to tell their stories. And if they can't do it, but they know someone outside of Wayne County who is, they can sponsor a program from here on this channel. What we don't do is solicit programs from outside of Wayne County, but let's say you know someone in Delaware that's creating a program that you believe in. you can bring that program to Whitewater Community Television. You're just the local sponsor of it. That person from Delaware can't call us and say, hey, can you put this on? Because we'll say no. It has to be something supported by someone who lives in Wayne County. Again, this is Wayne County's Public Education and Government Access Center, and local programming always takes precedence.
Okay. Thinking about then Channel 21, that's the one that we want to beef up a little bit.
Yes.
Are there areas that you want to throw out to the folks? You talked about some classes and things. Are there any specific areas that you'd really like to see folks think about?
Actually, no, because we don't want to control what people tell as their story. It was a gentleman who moved away from the community probably about a year and a half ago, Ralph Wynn. Ralph was a gentleman that a lot of people knew. He was involved in a number of things. He'd go to Kiwanis meetings, he'd go to Lions Club meetings, he was part of a travelogue, and he would just record, because there are a lot of speakers that come into this community. And he would take his camera and he'd set it up and he'd record those things and he'd bring them in and he'd show the community. Family events. It's interesting how many people in this community are tied by families or friends or things of that nature who they don't get to see or hear a lot. He would even do just some family birthday parties and things, because there were faces that people hadn't seen for a long time or people hadn't heard from for a long time. So no, I don't want to in any way limit what people think their stories are. Reason being, there's a program that we run during the holiday season. We run it almost every Thanksgiving weekend, and then we've started running it at Christmas. It's called Richmond in Motion. It is a program. It is 8 hours long. There was a local doctor who really just went around and collected a lot of footage from various places. I hear he did some dumpster diving when the chamber was getting rid of some things, but it dates back to the 1930s, and it shows downhill roller derby races and things of that nature that a lot of people had forgotten about. People look forward to that because it's a way for them to see family members again, to hear stories about what the community was, and people look forward to it. So I don't want to limit what people think is important. We don't want to tell people what's important. It's one of the reasons when we do a government meeting, we do it from gavel to gavel. There may be 8 things on the docket that night. Some of the media, and they have to do their job, may say these were the 2 most important things on the docket last night. For you, it may have been the 6th thing on the docket. So rather than telling you these 2 things were the most important or these 2 things are what we're going to focus on, we show you the whole thing and you decide what's most important. That's part of what we're here for. We don't want to tell people what is important to them and what's not important to them. We want to give them a vehicle to express their feelings, express their thoughts, and show the community what they want to show the community.
So folks are sitting out there and I've got a great idea, but they don't have the ability to tape it or bring it to life. Can they come in and talk with you about that idea or talk with someone here about that idea?
Sure. Our phone number is 973-8488. Normally you can find somebody here between 8:30 and I'll normally say 5, but depending on where our meetings are on a given evening, we're scattering after that. You can send us an email, wctv@iue.edu, and just express that you have an idea that you just kind of want to help developing. And talk to us, and we'll be happy to try to help you flesh that out. Maybe try to help you find some people that can help you get it done. If there's training that you need, we can do that. We ask that you're a member of the organization, but again, membership we think is incredibly reasonable. And if we're having a camp that can help you, a training session that can help you, we'll also keep you up to date with that. We send out newsletters as to when those things are going to happen. So yeah, no, we want the community involved. And as you look at public access centers around the country. There is a fellowship of local producers out there that are always willing to share their knowledge, share their interest, share their passion, and we want to develop that here in Wayne County also.
Well, that's great. We've talked about that there are the 3 channels, and I'd like to dive into that just a little more. We've got about 6 minutes left, so that folks really understand the 3 channels and if they're looking for information, where they might look for those. So if you would just kind of give us an overview of those and what they might expect.
WGTV Channel 11 is our government access channel, basically. You will find gavel-to-gavel meetings from everything ranging from Richmond City Common Council to Wayne County Commissioners to, as we mentioned, Hagerstown meetings. If you don't have Comcast cable, you can find that online. Go to our website, easiest way to do it, WCTV.info. And that's an interesting ending, but WCTV.info. On the left-hand side, you'll find 4 buttons there. One will take you to our Facebook page, one will take you to our Twitter feed, one will take you to YouTube, and one will take you to WGTV Online. And WGTV Online is both a streaming and a video on demand site. So if you don't have Comcast cable, you can see live what's happening on WGTV at any point in time by going there. And if you've missed a meeting or missed a show, you can go there and watch it. WETV, Channel 20, if you've got Comcast cable, is our educational access television channel, and that's anything that we can pigeonhole as far as education. The Chamber is there. In Your Business, which is a program that Tim Scales has been doing for probably as long as you've been doing this show. And proudly we serve veterans programs, the Brain Mechanics, hosted by Matt Duffin, who is a survivor of a traumatic brain injury, and that's what his conversation is. His co-host, Malin Whitaker, is actually a caregiver of someone with a traumatic brain injury. So that program is going on. Those programs you can find in full on our YouTube channel. And then WCTV Channel 21 is our public access channel. We don't have those housed anywhere. We don't own or have any rights to those, so we don't house those online anywhere. But if you've got Comcast cable, we're there, and what we're trying to do is maybe figure out a way to do some streaming of that channel so people have a chance to see some of what's there. But a number of the churches have found that that is a great ministry for them, that video outreach to the community who can't get there either through work or through illness. And you can find Catholic Mass, Baptist churches, Lutheran services, Church of the Nazarene, a lot of different churches are using that.
There's one other aspect that I know a lot of people tell me about, and that's the bulletin board. I don't know how many people will say to me, oh, I saw it on the bulletin board, I know it's happening. Tell us a little bit about what the bulletin board is.
Each one of our 3 channels actually has a different bulletin board. Our government access channel actually has a WGTV, has a government bulletin board. So whether we're covering a meeting or not, we tell the community that it's there so they can see those. WETV, again, what's happening at our educational institutions, be it the high schools, Earlham College, IU East, Ivy Tech, Purdue Polytechnic, they send us information about speakers, events, things of that nature, and we put that there. And then not-for-profit organizations are able to use the Channel 21 bulletin board, and they run when we don't have video programming on. And there is no charge for a not-for-profit organization to send us their event so that we can put it on the bulletin board. We ask that you get it to us at least 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time so that we have time to put it up, and we'll run it for at least a couple of weeks. We cannot put pricing on there, but if it's a ticketed event, we can tell people that it is a ticketed event, and for more information, contact, and we're happy to do that.
Well, we're under 2 minutes, so what do we need to tell them that we haven't already told them about WETV? WCTV, I apologize.
If you want to support us and you're looking for a fun way to do it, one of the things I want to push is our 21 for Fun event, which is coming up. That is going to be on Friday, April 12th. It is going to be at the Elks Country Club. There is a ticket price for that, but it will get you play money so you can play craps, blackjack, roulette. The food is there. And we're going to try to actually add a couple of things, including some really nice music. We had a big band last year. We're going to bring the size of the band down a little bit, but there'll be live music and a great evening. It will run from 6 to 10, again, on Friday night, April 12th at the Elks Lodge. If you can put that on your calendar, you'll be hearing more information about that. It is a great way to do it. And if you are buying online this holiday season on Amazon, consider going to smile.amazon.com. You can make Whitewater Community Television your not-for-profit of choice, and we get a very small portion of what it is that you buy, but it's Amazon's way of doing some philanthropy.
And that's an easy way to buy online, but still
Support a local organization.
Yes. Eric, thanks for being our guest. I've appreciated all of your support as I've done my program over these years, and all of your staff. And I appreciate what you do for our community, because I know it's not always easy to put in all of the hours that you all do. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us on the Third Sector.